to come and to share and to learn and to work together as one people for a destiny that we know you have for Hawaii. God bless every single one of you that came, all of your loved ones, all of your relations, and that may tonight's time together show us all that your presence and your will shall be done. Your kingdom, on earth as it is in heaven, is in process as we speak. We love you so much. Thank you for accepting us as we. Yes, you are son.
Okay. Sorry, I'm supposed to record. Yeah. Simon, take a. Here. Here. This is the presentation. And then look. I use some comments in the back. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm Andrew. Quick introduction. A lot of those who don't know who I am. I'm Kilo Hoffman, born and raised in Eagle, and super happy to be a part of this project. It's near and dear to my heart. Grew up in super happy that we are at the stage that we're in right now. Just a quick housekeeping things. If you haven't signed in, please sign in with Julie over here. There's a sign-in sheet. You can also get a copy of the presentation. Just in case you don't have to see on the screen. You guys want to write down this? We are in the draft PA process right now, and we are a sheet where it directs you to the part or the full draft PA, so you can review it for yourself and links to where to send it to, as well as our email address, so that you can send your comments in that way at a later date when you have the time to review the whole thing. And then one last thing, and we'll be started a little late, so our stop time is around like 8:15. We want everybody to go home at some point so that you can review that. Still have time to be there and everything. We don't want to keep you guys here longer. So, mahalo again for coming out and for listening to where we are in the process. So, mahalo again for coming to the Beneficiary meeting. We've had one before in October, so this is the second iteration of it, and it's really just an update on where the project. South of Nene and east of the Kilcott Tract 1. That's the area we're looking at right now. So the purpose of this meeting is to update again you guys on where we are in the process and to notify all our beneficiaries that the Kings Landing Juliana Homestead Settlement Plan is in the draft EA stage. We have published it in the environmental group review. Which was published on page. So Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 343, This is a required permit for anything that meet the 13 criteria. And as you see, these are the 3 criteria that this project meets. One, we are using state and county land funds. We're also using lands that are considered in the conservation district according to the state land use designation. And we are proposing these developments near shoreline areas. So because of these reasons, we have to go through a 343 process and need to submit a draft environmental assessment. What is the purpose of the draft environmental assessment? Well, is to identify resources and the effects any project has or may have on its environmental assessment. Looks at all the different environmental factors that might be affected or could be affected by a project, and looks at the degree of effect that this project would have. So we look at things like natural resources, cultural resources, hydrology, traffic, even visual resources like viewscapes and things like that. We look at an array of things and we talk about what the project's degree of impact on these resources. So according to the 343 process, we also have to make it available. Also in the OE administrative rules is that we have to make the EA available for 30 days and send it to the environmental public review, which is a state committee, basically, or state division, and they will publish it and we'll keep it open for 30 days for people to comment on the draft EA. So if there's anything, any resources that we miss, if the impacts to, if the degree of impact to those environmental resources weren't met or were different from what we said in the environmental assessment, then that's what you guys will be commenting on. If you want to participate in the comment period. Everybody with me? All right. So how this started was back in 2022, the Homes Commission created an investigative committee, and the recommendations that were brought forth from that investigation committee was that we've done necessary due diligence to identify homesteading as viable in Kingsland. Everybody here is at least familiar with the land that's on King's Landing and the types of hazards that it is affected by. And so we wanted to make sure that we were due diligent if it's possible to create homesteading. And the second purpose of this project was to render for staff, render a recommendation to the finance division to whether value should be set aside for or lots of good. And after we'll be going over the program a little bit here, but that was basically reason why the project got started. Real quickly, we have it started in the 1990s. We're interested in studying a very far off. They realized that
I'm sorry, all one person.
And
That's what
department
Oh, okay.
years. They came to the department and asked the department, just give us the land. We don't need infrastructure, we just need the road, access it. We just want to settle, take care of the land, allow the land. Please find a way to provide us with that option. So the department working with beneficiaries and model in the 1990s created what we call our animal homestead program. That program is included in the department's administrative and actually was 30. The rules give us specific guidance on each of the activities. One is the department must select the site. One department must create a settlement plan. And then thirdly, after the settlement plan and after this, the selected system, the association has Kuliana, which is why we did Kuliana consent. Association has a Kuliana, not just to take care of their own, but they take care of legal resources that the whole family is responsible for making sure that the generations have the same access. So when we refer to Kuliana homesteading, we're not referring to Kuliana lots, that machine, whatever. In the department under we're really referring to our program in the department is trying to address some of the desire of some of our districts to just receive land and be able to take care of that land, to live off grid, and to receive land right. Next slide. So some of the programmatic goals of the Kuliana homestead are outlined here. One, like I mentioned, for the department to develop normal homesteads with paved streets, roads, potable water, electricity. It does take the department some. A lot of it has to do with funding, a lot of it has to do with the permitting process. So one of the is to accelerate the work of these things and still beneficiaries who desire this with operate. And I just want to clear the program for all really those that are engaged in living growth, living operate, being able to and want to take care of communities. So it's not a program for everyone, but it is a program for those beneficiaries that want live off of them. It does maximize the department's use authority. The department has the ability to say what can and cannot happen in compliance. No other entity that institution has the ability to tell the department how it can, or the department, the Hawaiian Homes Commission, how to use compliance. We have a homestead program because the department is not putting in the normal levels of infrastructure. It does reduce the cost to develop that type of homestead. It also activates traditional relationships with the ICON because it is one of the responsibilities of the lessees to not just their lot, but again, in the surrounding area in their homestead area. And then also, along with that stewardship comes the Kuliana to work with other homesteaders, other members of your association to create protocol for stewardship, create responsibilities to and then lastly, because of this communal grid, it does emphasize self-sufficiency. Next slide. So at this time, I will hand it over to wanted to give a background of how her association and her role became involved.
I am Aina Aloha White I'm Aina Aloha White I was born at home on the bay at Waika'alulu in 1990, and I was raised by the community of Ma'akamalanga. And I wanted to start this evening with this image because this is the image that really summarizes who we are as a community. So in here you'll see the Katie. I'm about 10 years old in this image. Over there in the middle. And we have the have mana, we have the and this is have a fundraiser and a derby in the land of Panama. Because when a community, we have to pay our community bills, which was our liability insurance for us to maintain our renovation department and also our fuel box bill to get together and create a community fundraiser so that we would pay our community dues. And then summarizes how we came together so that we could be independent. Please, after this, come and see us at Malakakaina. Okay, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about who we are as a community, and then spend a slide describing how we got here today. At our last beneficiary consultation meeting, there was a lot of questions about how involved Baja was in the planning process and how involved the beneficiaries stewarding and residing the lands and things landing, how involved were we? I wanted to talk to that. So, how Kings landing, or the village of Kings landing, is home to Hawaiian beneficiaries who follow their na'au practice. Each Ohana cleaned and prepared their land with their own hands, laid the foundation for their homes, and placed their feet on the land. Kings Landing villagers and the Maha Community Association are evidence of a successful alternative development model for Hawaiian descent. The villagers' rehabilitation is achieved by practicing these 4 things. So, I created these programs. When I was younger, Dad, because they went into Kings Landing because they wanted to. So, when I reflect upon growing up in Kings Landing, I asked myself, how am I the way I am today? I look at these 4 things about how my village helped me become who I am. And so we rehabilitate by practicing Ohana sovereignty, by community self-governance, self-determination, and Ohana subsistence and living with it. Okay, so when I look back at these 4 things, how I identify rehabilitation growing up in Kings Landing. The beneficiaries rehabilitate in the form of self-determination. So the Hawaiian beneficiaries residing in Kings Landing have decided for themselves what rehabilitation looks like, and most importantly, what it feels like. Rehabilitation in the form of Ohana sovereignty. So each Ohana growing up in Kings Landing, were given Rola. And so each Ohana opened up the Aina on their own with their Ohana. And that inspired their Ohana sovereignty. Rehabilitation in the form of community self-governance. So Maha is the democratically elected self-governing entity of Kings Landing. And I'll go into what Maha is and the plan. Rehabilitation in the form of subsistence with Aina. So growing up in Kings Landing, we ate a lot of fish. And it was being on that coastline that really raised us and really made me comfortable today about being with those. Okay, so now I'm going to go a few slides to talk about the history, because another question was, how did we get here today? So in 1921, Kings Landing and all of actually the Waiakea became part of the Hawaiian Land Civil Group. And so at that time, we had people living in Kings Landing before the department became the land. And the Ohanas were the model Ohana. They had a home at Waipili, they had a home at Kings Landing, and they had a home at Waikawa. And the Ka'aave Ohana had been living at Hokumaku, which is the end of our Kings Landing boundary, for a generation. The Ka'aave sisters were very close, and actually one of the wards at Hokumaku. So they were living there for generations, and then the department became landowner. And so the Ka'aave Ohana had to transition into the department. And so in the 50s, DHHL removed the goal of the Ka'aave factory because the department did not allow them. Then in the 1960s, my father would recount that he often went down into Kings Landing, out at Cholipuku, which is the beginning of Kings Landing, and he went into Kings Landing with his grandpa, with his grandpa, with his grandpa, William Kanakole, and other residents of Kings Landing. They often go into Kings Landing to follow up with this issue. Juana invited Bill, William Company to live at White. And Uncle Bill then in the 60s received oral permission from the commissioners of White Management to the area. In 1977, after living at Wild House for several years, Uncle Bill received an eviction notice from the department. And then in 1981, they distributed one named Mrs. Bohana to White House. And he asked his grandfather, William Panakapulike, wanted for guidance in Grandpa's story. In 1982, after being in Kisani for a year, Dad received an eviction notice from the department. And he writes to the department inquiring about how they could get these options and explaining his rationale for settlement and consent. And he wrote to the department saying, because the department was slow in placing the Hawaiians on the land, I placed myself here. So in September of 1982, the commissioners came to Kings Landing and visited Dad and Uncle Bill at their homes. And they were told that leases could not be offered because the management plan for the area of Kilpatrick did not exist. So in 1982, based on their need to be organized and be recognized, the two families, Makani and Yoane, formed MAHA, Kalangkaina and Kaina. And so MAHA is the democratically elected, self-governing body designed that governs and are organized to govern the human interaction and land management design. And so MAHA began 4 members. Uncle Bill Kokani was a Kuna, Kayuki Iwan was the president, and Tola Kokani was the vice president, and Mom Eric Iwan was the treasurer and the secretary. And we formalized the 2 and we continue to today. And intentions were to live and rehabilitate the native. In 1985, the right of entry 76 agreement is signed between MAHA and the Department of Farmland. In 1985, the Protect Olame Ohana on behalf of MAHA community applied for and received a grant from the department to produce a MAHA management plan. And so Palapala Inc. is contracted to conduct the research and compile the findings. Then in 87, the Kilpaha Tract Community Management Plan is completed and sent to the Department of Homeland. However, sadly, there is no movement or communication about the findings of the management plan between the two parties, and these discussions are stopped. Then in 1999, we is designated Kuleana Subsistence Homesteading, and leases are awarded. Concept for this homesteading product were inspired by the Queensland community and the MAHA community management plan. Then in 2001, a new right of entry was given to MAHA. This is right of entry 294. This right of entry recognizes the need and the desire for beneficiaries to live a Queensland subsistence lifestyle. So in this right of entry, it is outlined in 24 lots. 24 lots are outlined, welcoming 24 families into it. For 20 years, between right of entry 294 and 2001, my dad, PPO on it, because there's a testimony guidance for settlement because with the creation of the MAHA management plan, there's no communication between the department and MAHA to report on settlement. At this time, too, MAHA as a community, we welcome our 5th generation into the village, so we welcome our first. The department for the next really my entire life, 40 years, the department goes through many turnovers and administrative changes, and then in 2021. The current commissioners and staff are unaware of the mandate and MAHA school district history. So in 2021, the commissioners formed a special investigative committee to investigate the community of Kings Landing. And in 2022, based on the request of the beneficiaries of Kings Landing, the special investigative committee recommends to begin the settlement plan process. And then what have we participated in the last 2 years? In 2022 to today, MAHA and the beneficiaries of Kings Landing have worked with G70 and the planning department to develop the current Kings Landing settlement plan that we are reviewing tonight. We've completed the Onua Yaka process, the Kanakole Foundation, that's in the hub with the Kanawai of Kings Landing. So we as a community identified the resources that are taken to us as joint beneficiaries, and then we outline our best management practices to allow those things. We've also associated subcontractors that they conducted environmental assessment in community. And we work closely with land management division in our ongoing need to secure our community. With the help of G70, Maha designated what designed the proposed settlement plan we presented. So somebody asked me one when we left the first beneficiary meeting, who made this plan? And I'm gonna say, we made this. So beneficiaries of Kings Landing, when you look at the settlement plan tonight, we're the ones who do this.
I think for that background and history on each planning, so that we know how we got to this. So the purpose of this project, as I kind of mentioned already, is to provide previous beneficiaries an opportunity to receive a 1990 year homestead lease at King Landing through the Kuleana Homestead Settlement, or not the Kuleana Homestead Program. This helps address the issues of successorship. Under an ROP, don't have that ability to pass on that, and there have been people that have passed away and have been pass on their land in Kings Landing. But by obtaining leases, you have that ability. And this also addresses the issue of security. As the members of Maha and the residents of Kings Landing and all of that, there is no security at this point. There's lots of activity that happens in Kings Landing, and this project is within that's the non-beneficiary activity going on. We want the governing body, Kings Landing, to control what happens. This also provides opportunity to rehabilitate beneficiaries by creating and strengthening relationships by having people have ownership and by allowing them to consistently stay on their land and interact with their item. This provides them the opportunity to rehabilitate themselves and rehabilitate their future generations by knowing their item, knowing their bond. So this is a lot of words. This is just a summary of the work that has been done since G70 has been on. So we've had our kickoff meetings, we had our planning sessions. I won't go through this whole thing. You have a copy of this in your presentation packets. But I mean, just the last few things here on this timeline. We worked with Maha to come up with the latest iterations of the Kuleana Homestead Settlement plan that you can see over there on the right, or on my right side of the cafeteria. After that, we went to the Planning Commission to gain approval to move on with the draft EA process, approve the Kuleana Settlement plan, and to publish our draft environmental assessment. So we did that. We went to the commission in May, published in June, early June, and now we are here at the bottom where we're having our second beneficiary consultation meeting talking about the draft EA. So this is just a quick look at what was kind of a summary of what was kind of talked about at the last beneficiary consultation meeting. As you see, this big kind of chunk here, that 71% was provided by the petition and signatures of beneficiaries and people who supported this Kuleana Homestead Settlement plan, whether they were here or not here. And then the oral comments, the next big chunk that we see is oral comments that were in support of Maha and or the Kings Landing Homestead Settlement plan. A lot of beneficiaries seem to agree that with the plan or agree that Maha deserves to be living there after their 40 plus years of working and living in that space. There were a couple, comments with reservations, that's kind of the small 2% slot that you see there. And then there was also the comments, mainly, for the department itself, or have any questions about the. So that's just a quick summary of the comments that we received after that. So this is the iteration of the Julian Homestead Settlement Program that we brought the first time. And this is the one that really, people had comments, some comments on. And so what we did is we took those comments and we integrated it into this, Julian Homestead Settlement Plan, came back to Baja and worked with them, making sure that we, finalize that, settlement plan to the best of our ability to create this current iteration of the Julian system. Right now, there are currently approximately 78 lots that could be awarded under the Julian program. There are several community use areas, that area is blue. Starting from the one on my right hand side, is a future partnership possibly with the neighboring entities, including the schools. Then we have our community agricultural area, which is the big one in green. This plan will be for whatever can be grown on a specific lot. This is an area for the entire community that the community of Kings Landing to grow and create their style of living, whether it's small scale agriculture, small scale livestock, maybe hydroponics, or some sort of hydro farming types of work can all fit in that community agriculture area. The area above that one that kind of looks like an arrow is a community use area that is being proposed for a community center with a commercial kitchen and an area where not only people can gather for educational and cultural purposes, but also for beneficiaries who are living here to be able to harvest and clean and process their agricultural products so that they can then sell. So creating economic opportunities that. Along the coastline is community areas that are being proposed for community gathering, subsistence gathering, where community members will have beach access and shoreline access throughout. Also areas where people will possibly practice locally types of practices. There's multiple hiking ponds that exist within that area along the coastline. There's also an area where the community center currently exists, and that will continue and remain as a community use space. And then the green that we see are the conservation areas, the ones to the south. These areas will be mainly used for the protection of the forest as well as the watershed. Their gathering practices will still be allowed within those areas. Things such as hunting pigs with alcohol. Hunting pigs, gathering types of plants, gathering things for Hawaiian cultural practices will still be allowed in the conservation areas. And the areas that we have in yellow are the areas that we have designated as livable areas for the future of the Julian Homestead Settlement Program. So this map here shows all those areas that are in yellow, kind of the breakdown of what use these lots will be. So we kind of have a mixture of both agricultural and pastoral uses or lots, land use lots, in this area. So the orange represents the pastoral, the area that would be, under a pastoral land use. And the light green represents the area that will be under the agricultural land use. And then at this time, if we've all been sitting too long and staring at this clock for too long, if stretch like and then
Snacks.
Spar will be taking over the rest of the day.
Hello, everyone. Everyone, okay, we can stretch.
Snacks. Snacks.
My name is Barbara Natal, I'm project manager at D70. I live in Cooper County on Oahu. And I just feel really blessed to be able to be a part of this project and to also be the trust of those in Maha to facilitate and to bring this permit process through so that we can get to the ultimate goal. So I did want to go ahead and just follow you through. So at this point, we've understood the history of Maha, what happened at community planning, and then how we provide to this point the working with the community in order to come up with the plan. And so the second half of the project was then to do this environmental assessment. So I'm going to run through all the points that we worked on in order to come up with that large report. Which will do that.
Thank you so much.
But this is the same. So here, we want to do an environmental assessment. We have to go to the agency first, really complicated.
Good. Don't have extra.
For the report itself, the app agencies, if they have any input, they can let us know, so that we're not just writing the report in the dark. So some of the information that we got, like the Department of Forestry and Wildlife, they just asked that we make sure that we're doing use of best management practices to be careful of endangered plant and species. We also recently we worked with the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency to look at the current evacuation route that they have for the region. DHHL and Maha are still working with them to make sure that that makes sense for the area. We did also receive some standard comments from Department of Health and from Department of Land and Natural Resources, which had to do with safety and health of the area. And then finally, the County of Hawaii Department of Planning just asked for technical studies. So we haven't really gotten any specific comments from them just yet. And so one of the main comments that we received really had to do with the effects from the Philip International Airport, of course, area, and all of you, of course, are familiar with that. So we did receive a letter from Representative Nakashima concerns for homesteaders due to the airport points. And of course, Department of Transportation airports also did note that concern with regards to noise. And then there was some other development restrictions that they let us know about. Of course, when you're at an airport, you need to make sure that you're doing you can only do construction within a certain radius of the airport so that when the airplanes come in, they aren't running into any obstructions. They were also concerned about increasing wildlife in the area. They didn't want to have any kind of a wildlife attraction that could potentially run into a plane and cause an accident. They were also concerned about photovoltaics on any kind of glare that might happen from those on rooftops. And then finally, they didn't tell us this in their early consultation letter that we received, but Department of Homeland did have a meeting with DOT of airports and at that meeting, they did tell us that they were still considering expansion of runway. So that was a little bit of a shock to us. And the next one, I'll just show you what this looks like. This is what the noise transfer map that we did on there. This just shows you this particular noise level of the DNL day to night average level of sound. right, and they direct benefit. But if anything that is outside of here is recognized by DOT airports as acceptable for, homes. And so, that's one of the reasons why we cited all of these areas outside of this light blue area. But however, you can see that the, runway is here, and if you, this, runway out this way, this would move this line out and affect existing and proposed, houses. Andrew, did you want to say anything about the meeting with the Department of Transportation?
Just to add what Barb was saying, it did meet with DOT airports. We did express our strong concern about the proposed expansion of the runway eastward, and we asked them to work with us to not impact our beneficiaries' ability to settle that area. So we will be working more closely with DOT airports to make sure that any of their future plans does not affect the department's ability to settle our beneficiaries at Kings Landing. Also, we shared this at the final committee. We did receive a public comment from the existing asking that the department will be making sure that any future activities with the airport does not impact the existing community. So we will incorporate that as we have future conversations with the airport. So we just wanted to let our beneficiaries know about some of the comments, this being probably one of the more significant comments that we received from other agencies during our environmental assessment process, and how the department intends to respond and hopefully find some sort of reasonable solution with the airport. So I will pass that back to them.
All right, and then so, then of course, in addition to that, really consulting with the agencies, we have to do our own research. Some of these are literature review. We just look at any other reports that have already been done in the area. And we also have some that do their own survey. So we looked at natural resources, we did noise, traffic, engineering, economics, and of course looked at some additional considerations. I'll get more into detail on those. All right, so I know Loha had already talked about the Funway dam process with the Edith Mount Holiday Foundation. And so the really neat thing about that is that they took a look at the Mele, Oli, Olelo, from the area. And then from that, they were able to analyze that and as I know Loha said, look at the resources that are most important to them. And then also have an understanding from these past resources of how to take care of what's important to them. And so that information was used to inform within the environmental assessment about how to take care of the there was also an archaeological study that was done by Archaeology, and NAHA did take this group out to look at some specific sites. There were also a total of 17 sites were documented. There were 80 previously identified, so the archaeology team just went out and verified the location. And then there were some 9 newly identified sites, and those included rock walls, lava tubes, or cave sites, possible areas. And then the next plans then are to we need to do a consultation with the State Historic Preservation Division to determine any additional assessment. And we also did a cultural impact assessment. And so what that did is provide a local level of the area as well as local and documented local traditional practices that are already happening in the area. The consultant that prepared the CIA was impressed with this file that is currently maintained in Kings Landing, considering modern pressures. And DHHL is encouraged to work with NAHA to ensure that no cultural resources are adequately impacted by the construction. All right, and then so this was an aerial survey done by Resource Map in Hawaii. So they had an airplane that flew over and took really high digital imagery of the area, and this really helped us because there's over 1,300 acres here it's impossible for us to physically go to all these areas. So we were able to, from these maps, actually find some things that we didn't know about. So this can show you the high resolution that we were able to get from this. So it really did help us in our analysis of land use money. And then there were also the biologists, also visited them in their survey of the area. They looked at ambulant ponds and tide pools and forested areas. They took account of any plants, animals, birds that they saw. And there were 3 endangered species that they were able to find. There's the Hilo East Diamond, I'm not gonna anyways, the grass that they were able to find. Right. And then Hilo or the white hawk, as well as the orange black mountain lion. Okay, and then the hydrogeology assessment. So we had another participant go ahead and take a look at how would this project affect any of the water resources in the area. And they determined that the project will have minimal impact on water resources, and it's because homesteaders plan on using catchment for their water supply or bringing it in and then wastewater treatment will be using composting toilets or wastewater treatment that's approved by the department. Okay, a few more slides. So flood zones, of course, we had to take a look at that. And then you can see the orange and pink areas, those are considered a special flood hazard. So whenever you build in those areas, there are certain standards that are necessary for building a home there so that your home will survive. And then we, of course, also looked at sea level rise happening, a real thing. And it was interesting, especially in this area, the sea level rise areas are pretty similar to the flood hazard areas. So there are lots that are designated within the sea level rise flood areas. So those lots were made larger to accommodate for this. And the says that our developers in this area are encouraged to either build in higher elevation areas outside of the sea level rise or take precautionary measures of flood proofing their home, creating flood barriers, those things. And again, one more thing is, as we go through all these things, if there's something that catches your eye and you're that something that's really important to you, I do encourage you to take a look at that link that we have and search it up for that particular subject, and then read through it. If there's something that we miss, we really would appreciate your comments so that we have an environmental assessment that really does fit. Okay, so back to this slide again, where we looked at the study, and so we had a noise consultant to verify. He went out and took samples of the noise and verified that the amount that we received from DOT airports are very similar with the noise contours. So again, that helped us to do the land use planning to make sure that the homesteads were outside of this area that is accepted by DOT as areas that are okay for sound. So again, we did talk about noise attenuation, but that's reducing noise within a home, but that's really hard to do in a naturally ventilated building. How we have here. And so one of the suggestions that the noise consultant made was at the community center to go ahead and install some of those different things to help noise attenuation. And then the considerers could come and look at it and see if that was something that they could actually incorporate into their home or not. Traffic assessment. So really the overall what it came down to is that this particular project is not going to have an overall effect on the increasing traffic that's happening. With or without the project, yes, some of the intersections will have more traffic, but again, this particular project is not pushing it over. It's particularly the tourists or from the harbor where the traffic is coming from. Most people in planning will leave their homes maybe every 2 to 3 days. It's 5. So it's a minimal. Preliminary engineering report, so they typically look at infrastructure, but there's not a whole lot here since it's Oxford living, and so they did take a look at the emergency route and reviewed it and verified that it all makes sense. And of course, Maha had already figured that out 8 years ago. And they did provide some additional information for roadway construction and water management, so that the water. And we had a state of Hawaii work on this economics report, and this person that writes is very has amazing ideas, and it's a little difficult to read this report, but he did come up with some interesting information of economics and ways that Maha will go ahead and have us, and besides just have us assistant living on their lives in order to make additional money from side. Some of them include like, of course, aquaculture or removing invasive plants and turning them into compost or biochar, and then even potentially beehives and help to further assist pollination, but as well as okay, all right, so back again. So after all of this research and all of our due diligence, of course, this is the community plan that we came up with, settlement plan, and I just wanted to reemphasize that this was from Maha's, knowing the INA and living there and knowing the appropriate places for these things, as well as from the side that we were able to bring for some of the teams. So in conclusion, yes, that it is a viable option and you learn with a thought, yeah. So we know this already, but it was here a few months ago. And yes, it should be set aside for community. Proposed homestead and land use is not anticipated to have a significant impact on the surrounding environment. And we have some essential practices that are within the environmental assessment to help us in that. The project provides homestead opportunities for DHHL beneficiaries to obtain long-term leases. And so this would address the issues that the right entry is just not able to help with, such as security and rehabilitation. All right, and then so last week 5, next step. So here we are staying tonight. We are telling you about this draft environmental assessment. As Kilo has expressed already, we are in the public comment period. It started on Saturday. We have until July 8th. So we really would appreciate any written comments that you can give us. And we'll go into that in a second. But after this meeting, once the public comment period is closed, we receive your comments, then we'll integrate them into the final environmental assessment. And then we will go to the Land Use Commission and ask for their acceptance of the final meeting. And one other thing that they have to do is right now, Kings Landing is designated special district. And so with these new land uses, the Land Use Commission have to also approve of the changes to new land uses. And then we're looking at publication of the final EA. And then after all this paperwork is done and we're going through the permitting, that's when DHHL can really get down to business. They'll design the roads and survey the lots, the septic and back here, and then they can go ahead and prepare services and construction of roads. We're looking at issuing censuses and second quarter of 2026. So 2 years. And then the road is completed, that's since they're moving in, they are picking the times to put in their homestead. And then we're looking at potentially third quarter of 2027 for full build out project. Okay, so last slide, again, you probably got to use at the front is giving some information and a QR code on where the draft environmental assessment is located. And you're more than welcome to go ahead and fill out the comment form right now if you'd like to, or you can take your time and go ahead and use the portions of the EA that's rather lengthy. So I would suggest doing the search function for anything that's important to you in the table of contents. Or even reviewing this the presentation here to look for further information. And so either if you can leave this with us tonight, or you can take it home and mail it in to us, you can scan it and email, or you can just, but we would appreciate written comments, and that is what will be integrated into our reference to the final. Okay, all right, so I think that brings us to the end. We do want to open up the floor for any clarifying questions that you may have. And I'll thank you.
So, yeah, this presentation was just the highlights of what exists in the draft environmental assessment currently. We looked at our reports and, the purpose and background of this project and where we're at now and our next steps, going forward. Again, we want to strongly encourage that, you take the time to read the environmental assessment itself. Those have, a little bit more meat to what we have reported so far. There's more on the biological resources, more on the archaeological resources, noise, traffic, everything that we may not have been able to touch upon in this presentation. But if by sending in your comments through the email address or the address that you see on there, we're able to intake them more properly and make sure that we report your comment and address it within the final environmental assessment. So on that note, again, we want to encourage people to, if there's anything that you didn't understand within our presentation today, anything on the possibly the honor program or how this project came about, what the reports said. Please, we invite you to come up now. There are two people on the sign-in sheet that did express their interest in providing oral comment today, but again, we did ask that pertaining to this presentation and it is on the draft EA itself, we encourage you to send in your comments so that we can properly intake them and address them. But with that being said, would either James Naniwale or Jean Hamsfield at this time?
It was really great to hear, I know, share what Hana has been doing here. I live in Ipoh for 10 years now. There's something speaking before you leave, brother. I wanted to hear your one now about this because it was your guys' Hana that took this morning. It would mean a lot for me to hear. So, just for you guys that were here all these decades, are you feeling respected? Are you feeling empowered by what you envision, or your ohana, or our country, or for the return ultimately of our sovereign nations? This moving in a way that will help facilitate that process, or is this process another government program that actually is designed to separate us from our true title and jurisdiction on the science? I think it's the most. Yes, sir.
Well, let's just a quick list. What it is, the address awareness. To address the wait list. That is mine. You know, there's an article in the paper the other day with the land. Otherwise, if the Republic doesn't buy land to address the picture, you need to provide infrastructure. You gotta provide infrastructure, you gotta clear the land, the road, the electricity, everything. Can you make that available? That takes a lot of the department. You can write these for you. I think you want it. But I think that's what King's Landing. There was an article in the paper the other day. Oh. I think it's clearly gotta be able to live the lifestyle. Or just keep it. My dad is doing lived on it for years. So you can live that lifestyle. That's me. To grow, peace, be able to fight, and that's what this is all about. That is what eternal address. This one that is not in eternal address is the wrong way. The people on the way is going to accept this type of lifestyle. You got to shit. Say, catch me, generate. This is what the organization is taking that first step. They're making this plan so you can look at the rest of it. You could go 3 acres wide, whatever, England, pastoral land. With the series. Big point. Thank you. My father was wrong, what? My dad lived in that 20 years. And I grew up going to.
So with what you see, this project will help facilitate that lifestyle.
Yeah.
What you see.
Not about relation, it's not about kingdom, it's not about all that, other things. So people want to get on all that. And this is the way that the Department of Oil will find an opportunity to just to be this. Wow. Well. So anyway, this is going to be. Mark had to go through all of this with people guys. I'm not putting guys. Really guys for just this issue. Really go away. Yeah, I understand.
I heard you.
Thank you.
Well, let's end that decision.
I'll go after double stairs.
I support the Kuleana because if you don't go on the lane, KMT go on the lane. If you don't go on the lane, we did too. I tell you, a better die on the land than on the weekdays. Sometimes you gotta break the law, but the law benefits us if it benefits them. It's secondary in the whole process. So I support these Kuleana, but the thing is, you got it. When you go home, people, out of 100 people, 99.5 always, they come from America, and they visit on the land. Okay, we okay. So the Kuleana is only one step to the economic velocity that the connector find themselves in. Now, The thing with the department, they always half-ass and 20 years behind schedule, if not 30. So I'm telling them now, if you look at the president of the chief coming, Donald Trump's family, coming in, the whole schematic of economics went up the land. So the house will cost $5 million every year. So when I look at the future, we gotta put land on the side for the Kanaka living tent. With dignity, put the dignity back in poverty. So when you see the million air how they pass by in a $6 million house, you can put the bird from his tent, because he living in Hawaii too. You know, so when I look at the whole process, it's Kuleana, only one step. But otherwise, they're gonna band-aid, we're gonna be bullshitting again. You know, they've been if our best interest coincides with their best interest, it works. As soon as our interest, not with their best interest, we become terrorists. So when you look at this Kuleana, don't think it's the top of the ball. It's just a step in. Because if you go down to Miami, that's all killed our people. They're all sleeping in the car. Abandoned cars is now the county court for Hawaii people. So if that's what you live with abandoned cars, you got to put some dignity in the car. Okay, that's all. But let me tell you the true story. I was coming out from Queensland, and I know, small community, so we know each other, the jogging, et cetera, et cetera. You know, so I'm coming out. I look in the car, I see this girl. She looking in the sky, and she looked intense. So I think she was praying. So I walk up to the sister, I said, Peter, she said, yes, Father. Are you praying to God for guidance in heaven? She said, heaven your ass, I need gas.
Before we move on, I wanted to ask if any more from King's Landing wanted to speak.
I'm Sharon Murray, and I have a question. The EIS, the Department of Transportation, does the Department of Transportation have the reason why they are expanding the airport? And also, is it going to affect the flight events in Queensland? And I also object to several of the rules that was mentioned by the DOT for the airport. Because it will affect the building of homes. That's really they, you know, the different homes, the different so. Yeah, so I'm hearing that there are issues. And the other thing that bothers me is the roads, because you know that when they built them, was they said they would come. You should come out to help our people, build their homes, and keep down. Now, our people will not have to count code. So the Department of Transportation know that, because a lot of folks who will come up was not taken care of. And there was no offer by the Department of Transportation to help these people. So what are they going to do for us? Because we know it's not going to be able to come.
I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to answer all of your questions. Just want to note that when we met with the Department of Transportation report, they are in the very early stages of contemplating the expansion. Some of the reasons that they gave to us was because of the configuration of the runway. They said they wanted to couple it for safety reasons, which is all well good, but at the end of the day, we told them your actions cannot impact the department's ability to provide set of opportunities for insurance. They are in the very early stages of the planning. They have to go through environmental assessment or environmental impacts process. They're not there yet, but we did let them know that when they do advance their planning, we will be involved and we will work with our beneficiaries. They are beneficiaries. That's potential. Anybody else? It's time.
Mr. Buchanan. I come here with respect for you guys, because you guys are the families and the nations. But I just gotta remind all your clients of all colors, because you need a company, brother, that I might talk, I keep you. I will tell you, I know it's true. Kingdom is the law exists. And if the United States will honor their oath to the Constitution, then everything have a foundation.
I hope other people come and get some.
That this state program, DHHL in the state program, that they are doing their best to work with the owners, who, like you say, in the valley of the land, yes, but please do not disrespect where we all woke up this morning. Our country, go away by Ireland, is the remedy, not just for Hawaii, for all colors, but for America and the world. Because our country, the wealthiest country on earth, we're not in debt, we're not a bankrupt corporation, we operate from a Kyoko. It isn't continuity, so united. I just heard that, I felt like it was disrespectful to our country. God bless. No, no apologies. I just had to say it. No, it's not my issue. It is our remedy. It's not my issue. I just making a comment about my opinion about the truth and the law. That's all. You don't need, hear me out. But I owe it to myself and my queen to recognize where we are. Okay, then we good. Understand all of the supporting the efforts and part of the country and the state trying to provide of understanding we could first thing is to think I just want to make a small comment. Moving away with gasoline. It's about people at all across the continent in the yard. It's gas. The United States of America, our trade needs. Very kind of area that we have. It provides our health with the ability to breathe in, that area is very special to us. It's something the land uses, something the ocean uses, something most of the world appreciates. And most of the world is in trouble under the problem. We have a problem. We care about people. We want these dogs to spend their life.
in the office. The end, but the doctor. It is of the government. So that's kind of the direction I want to go. I'm going to say something that is very important. I want you to think deeper about it. The air we breathe might trade the pictures in lands. It's still all Pacific. It's also world. It's our trade winds. Okay. And it's still isn't going to change your airplanes to batteries. And the runway is going to get longer. The plane is going to be on the ground for whatever. The continuity what comes out of the airplane in the air with the people that kill wrong. And that's what we're going to do. We're not really being the best about young people about cancer. They really saw it. It's something that we really don't know. That we can contribute to our airplanes. But that's a question that we should be asking. Because most of us can even afford to get involved. And Southwest is joining the fleet in planning this condition. Contributing to what our factory is contributing. The beautiful area that we have in the way. Okay, so please pay attention. As it is to be this building. The circulating fan that takes good care of us, we take kind of advantage of it. And we don't spend too much time thinking about our rules. Suffering from suffering. And continue on top there, and really movement you being here. And it's a kind of mindfulness through this being. It's been the first time of Bible study again this evening. I need to understand everything to talk about. Coming to this meeting, and this presentation, it's a bit hard to understand. The trust is value. Yeah. And I trust everybody is being here. To all perfection. But hope about because this being here, very old place. Again, I'm not how we want very, very old place. Love you guys. Next take it easy when you go home. Love you guys and take care.
Now, whenever this comes about, I feel like this is an emergency basis. But one thing that stops one of the issues that we talked to is the community use for the future waste management
So this has been a talk for a while. Our waste management has been open since what, 1920, so it's on their 100-year too. And since the senator is here, just like how you guys want more, you guys want all of these things. You guys have to keep it, you guys have to be shaking. Part of that mission is that is my mission that you guys have failed, you guys have breached, you guys have did everything we could to keep us. And with that being said, for the 78, I wish we could find that money. But this is a great start. Should be having more meetings about that in the but there will be more things happening in the next years. And we're looking at the whole situation, the housing crisis, the state of the how hard they work for different sections going along. We should be able to speak up there, not necessarily in any case that, but all of the county government. We're talking beyond the 200,000, talking about the 1.5 million. And that's a conversation I think is worth another day, but we cannot approve the waste management facility that close our home sales when it has created the first letter. And so with that being said, you guys can work on it, you guys figure it out, but we should be able to say something for 78 other family members that will be awarded, which will be on the wholesale settlement, and you guys have a lot to do, but good job, continue on and put up more lines on the.
Take the time, the opportunity to address maybe a few comments that I've heard. One, I think at the first beneficiary consultation meeting, we did have a fund of that proposed site for a waste management area. That was Mama's future planning of how are we gonna allow waste that we might be consuming. And so we have been in conversations with each other and with other possible interested parties to see what can we do. And I think that there was a confusion then as well. I have people asking the question. That site was not intended for a site for a place, the current waste management system that's in Canada, but how can we utilize the land that's in land and not, we cannot homestead because it's within that really, what is that high pitch south area. So we cannot live there. So we created a settlement plan. The first thing we have to identify is where we cannot stay. And so when the airport somebody came in, we also line and said we cannot stay there. So then we have to discuss, well, what can we do with lands that we cannot stay? We cannot build a big solar farm like other places have proposed next because of the airport. We have to live with our neighbors. When we have an opportunity for a larger conversation, I am excited to have conversations about other things outside of the Maha settlement, but that's where that came from. And then two, I think using the opportunity to go to other things because I made one of the mention. If you have to make this thing during the all of our I want to ensure that what we see here today is an action work. And it's something that we have waited for multi-generations. I was born in planning under a right of entry with no opportunity to see the land that I was raised on today, where I still gotta wait maybe 40 years and have my father hold on, but something happens today and I lose. So this is an opportunity for me, for the Bible was raised there, the grace was raised there, for us to be able to continue to hold.
And then just to follow everybody, I mean, we'll still have 10 minutes, but, yes.
It's unproductive. So it's like excellent. I just want to share with you some concerns I think has to be addressed to the DHHL as well. I'm going to be one of your biggest political supporters for Maha. I must say that. As all of you know, I'm a local girl born and raised here, just up going out in the town. But having said that, I have several questions. I am the chair of the Committee on Water and Land that oversees the LNR. And I was the chair of the Transportation Committee in the Senate for when did I return to the Senate? 2014, 2015. So for the last 5-6 years, I was the chair of Transportation. And with the departure of Beneficiary when he left the Senate, which he chaired the LNR, I was asked to take over Water and Land. I love transportation. Some of the things that is a concern of mine, including the airport. So, but first off, the question that I have for DHHL, this is kind of interesting because when we approved, the legislature approved the $600 million bonus to, it's not a bonus because you all deserved all of the monies that the state can provide so that we can get our people onto their lands. And so when the new administration came on, I had a great meeting with Colin Watson, even before we confirmed it, to make sure I wanted to know what the plans were for my island and my district. I have one of the largest homestead districts on this island as well. So on the EVA, well, I still need to help Tuna as well. So the meeting that I had with Colleen was that out of the $600 million, I want to know what's coming to Big Island, what's coming to our homesteads, what's coming to where the new subdivisions, or if we can extend our lands to increase capacity so we can put our own Hawaiian people on the land. So we had a discussion. It was too early for him to respond to my questions, but I did say I need commitments because we need to confirm. So having said that, you know, I'm putting the budget this year that Senator Ino is going to fight for her team on the Big Island as well. So with that said, so the questions come to mind with the Maha plan. And the concern I have is not only, my concern is relative to folks. If you go on the land, you're going to be there, and I understand the manao that you put in, but I have several concerns, and I'm going to go on the website and my comments as well. Several things. So going back to what I was talking about, the monies. I understand, so do you know right now if any of the $600 million is going to be used to prepare for the infrastructure that we're going to create so that our people can get into their lives?
Yes, we know settlement plan is not part of the 600.
Yes, I would think so, because when I spoke after he got into office and was able to work with all of you folks to see what projects are going to come to our Big Island, how much, and he's going to go towards Panagava extension to assist our kind of communities and the homesteaders. Okay, so with that said, so we're not going to get any part of the 600 million. I read in the paper, I guess they are, colleague is thinking of asking for more monies coming in probably the next session. Or to extend, because I understand the projects that are being considered within the $600 million, they're probably going to need help. And I can understand that because infrastructure cost is pretty much cost prohibitive if we're going to all be sharing the $600 million. Okay, so with that said, I understand the need coming in for asking us for more money. I have no problems with that because it's helping our. However, I probably want to make a deal and make sure that there's some money is going into this project. You guys want to be self-sufficient, which is fine, but the question I have is,
with regards to clearing up the area, you're saying that the infrastructure, you only to the roadways, is that what I hear?
Correct.
Okay.
We are on program.
Okay, but no water system.
So it would be on grid. So they would have to move off of water catchment.
Okay, so having said that, hearing what the plans for the community will be at Maha, is that one concern that I had, and we all fly, and our departures are in the air. One thing that concerns me is that when you're not gonna do any clearing, my understanding. So each person, family will be able to get rid of all the mamas and all the trees, and create their own lots. Am I correct?
That's.
Okay, one thing, and why I'm saying is that I think we need to government, DHHL, and all of us on the political side needs to make sure that we can contribute something. I have concerns because when you look at the vegetation right now, our people, I'm not sure how much in their own resources, when they apply and assign their lots, it's going to be using hand labor. So with that said, we don't have business. And we have our opium trees that's all right. So the cleanup that each lot will do. So the concern I have is we're putting the burden yet on the families. And it's our role to help a little. So we're only looking at clearing and improving roadways so we can assign their lots. But what about the air, the trees and everything else that they need to clear out? So as your senator, that bothers me, and the kinds of families that are going to be there, because they're going to raise their kids. They're going to send their kids to school, to college, and then we're giving them the land, and it's like, okay, here you go. That's where you clean up your home. So with that said, I just want to tell you that if there's anything that I can do, increase something of your budget, so I can work with you guys. Hopefully I get elected again, in this coming session to help them with some monies to increase your I guess the plans that we can do for our people. So at least clear some areas. I understand there's probably going to be some relatives around, so when you assign it, you're gonna know what lots will be available. But I believe we should try to commit, at least help them, once you assign the lots, that there's a backup, okay? We got, now, are you gonna have more than 1 acre? Or do they have a choice, 5 acre lots, 10 acre lots, or whatever? There's going to be a lot of.
That was something I missed. Presentation is that there are 2 sections for the awarding of lots. The first one is along the Coastal Road, which is where the majority of the residents live now. Those are from 3 to 15 acres approximately, and that's again the deal with the larger acreage. There's only a few that are over 10 acres. That's to deal with hazards that are in 10 acres.
All right.
And the smaller lots are 1 to 3 acres.
Okay, so just to let you know that once you folks start creating, if you know what it is, that if I can help, I can also, most of you know, I belong to the money committee in the Senate, so that's how I can bring money back to our community. But
Really appreciate your support.
okay, so that's, I'm gonna, now you know, I can do it again. I'll be there to help. One concern I have, we don't have a self-sufficient. And we know that we're not gonna have a water system. So the community, once it's settled, you put a plan on your community kitchen. And you know that once you have the community kitchen, you're gonna start creating something that you can all survive on, as well. There's food security laws in our country. And so the concern I have once the community, once you have a community kitchen, you're gonna need to make sure what kind of water system you're using. You have the food security laws, so something that, we need to talk about that eventually, trying to help create a water system or water tank somewhere. And let me say why I'm saying that. Okay, I provided $10 million to Department of Water Supply here when we built the new water tank that's at, in my dam. We had a groundbreaking. I provided a $10 million fund to White House. So they can continue to build more water tanks here, where the resorts are. But why can't we do something where a certain area that we build, and I'll help you with that resources to build the water supply, because I'm concerned about that. Secondly, the airport extension. Now, we have to understand we have two administrations. And when they talk about the extension of a runway, this plan must have been up to million years ago. So, and so, as far as I am concerned, if you look at what we have any airlines that's coming in and going out to the mainland or back, we don't have international travels. So, and you notice that some of the times between the schedules, there's no planes coming in. So that may work on DHHL, the vice chair, transportation Senate, and I worked many, many years in this position. And perhaps we really not need that extension. And that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. Another thing too is that the concern I have, I was very surprised with the DOT's attitude about, did they really tell that they will not extend any solar photovoltaic farms, is it only to a certain area of the property? Because our people needs to live, even if it's their own self-sufficiency. But you're gonna need at least put up the solar panels around. You're gonna have women's living there as well, or people with disabilities, and you're gonna have some electricity. You're not gonna have out over there putting lines, but to avoid suggesting that DOT says no photovoltaic on some of the residences is beyond me. Because our people, even if they have one panel, at least save the life of the security. So I'll try to work with DOT on that as well. Now, let's see. All the other stuff, I'll just follow whatever makes sense to raise your people, your special district. But you know where I stand. I have more, but I'll do my sometime. Okay, I'll take it. He's gonna come in and ask me more money. I'm going to make sure that part of that money is a certain amount goes to the community because they need to do security, it's everyone. Everyone will need to your community, okay? We need somebody that's at least to start off and get our communities going only to the lifestyle that we wish. Okay.
All right. I'd like to speak. Would be put to the law.
and watch. What do you think? Probably this portion right here. And I see it very clearly. People look out to government, people look out to from each other, always get something. And you know what? We all move together, all try to help each other. Yeah, so there are like, the money lady. We need money, but the good thing about it is we walk into something. I am walking in this land. I never come to God. I'm seeing you. Okay? When I build my house, yeah, I'm never move. Okay? They never come to me, but they come to God. And then God come to me. Then they told me, no, you are the God of us who feed you. Cannot leave here, cannot do this, unless you talk to wine. I'm looking for wine. I get over 70, almost 75. But that was that. Right? Because we're all money. You saw the same. So, anyway, now it's done. Okay. Bottom line is, well, I am for staying up here, while she was small. We grow up, she over. Yeah. Okay, so in there, now, I want to see that. I want everything. Any longer here, they can. Basically, the time we never see. They keep you scared. Why? Why they scared? Because they don't see future. My wife told me, why you scared? No future. You don't know nothing. I said, no, we get something. We get the land. Only bushes. Now, we just like over here, pick the sweet, like water, I go, well, not doing that. I go, well, I will dig that well, will provide jacket. Okay, but it works. It's a possibility for all of us. No matter where you drill over here, you get water. You might have a little salt in it. Salt would be. So, anyway, all the kids are wrong. Look, that's a good example of a Queensland child. Look at it. Look what she did. Backing up. That's good. I like some more. You know, guys, all of this. It's over there, right? Rocky. He's a family. They all know people. I all feel everything new. Nobody will walk in there will be sheep. Then, you know, God, everything. We need money. We can turn the trees into homes. We can keep the land clean. And we stand together. Unity shows by the process of healing. So, I'd like to thank all the people involved. And I don't care what anybody else say. Everybody have a really different personality, a little bit more unlike this, something like that. Yeah. So, anyway, keep up the good job. I am thankful that we actually see this. Because continue it together. 91 or something, they didn't help go out, and they didn't ask. We will help them with the team, and so their management plan came from her father and his mom. So that's people helping them. So let's see people help each other. Not from.
All right, so it's coming up to 8:30, and we want to all perform by tracking this happy for your friend. But we again want to encourage you guys, go to that website that you guys have on your sheets. please read the draft environmental assessment. A lot of the concerns that I get brought up today are addressed and were talked about in that draft environmental assessment. We mahalo every one of you for coming out tonight and listening to where we're at in this process. We hope that you guys keep up with this project and see this grow into the future. Before you guys leave, take as much chips and water as you like. One person can take 10 bags on the table. But again, probably every single one of you coming out tonight, we expect to see and
Just went into that.
Okay.
And turn it on.
We,
Yeah, I had.
oh, okay, okay.
Just, I don't know how it went.